So, once again, I'm going to complain that I have like 0 views. I'm really grateful for every view I receive. And this is why I think I talk about important topics. And let me tell you what's the problem with trans fascism. The problem with trans fascism is while they talk about the rights of them to be identified as a woman because they put on makeup, a skirt, a wig, or one of those separately, like if you put on a skirt, you're a woman. If you have an operation to create breasts, you're a woman. So being reduced into a plastic doll that wears doll clothing is for me humiliating. And the second thing is, while we're busy talking about men wanting to appear like women, we're not talking about the issue of repression of women in society. I mean, I live in a country where you can count on the fingers of one hand how many women we have in our government. It's absolutely disgraceful that people that make up half of the population have no representatives that would fight for their cause. And this is why the salaries of women is always going to be lower than men. And this is why people in typically female jobs like teaching can't support themselves. Let's face it. We're living in a place where women don't get decent salaries if they're teachers, speaking as one. And it's really humiliating that these jobs are delegated to women. In European countries where the salaries are higher, there are men teachers as well. Here it's very, very, the only men that will teach are ones that are burned out from high tech, that have been working like 30 years and earning a lot of money in some sort of business, and then they just got tired and feel like playing teacher. But nobody in their no sane human being would want to be a teacher in Israel, that's for sure, with the salaries they give you. And you know what? When we don't talk about, problem is the trans, all these things, it's not really a problem that affects most of the population. Even trans people are affected by education, and yet they never talk about it, and yet I never saw trans men or trans women in a demonstration against violence against women. I mean, violence against women is much more deadly than violence against trans, and yet you have an LGBT demonstration, the whole square is filled with people because it's very popular, pride parades, whatever. But pride for being a woman? When was the last time we had pride parades for being a woman? That's what I want to know. So we take a very, very small fraction of the population and we give it so much stage. And we ignore poverty, we ignore social issues, we ignore women's rights, we ignore how women are being repressed, abused, and sexualized. And then the ones who are doing the most sexualizing are the trans women, so-called women, quote unquote women. Because they're the ones who are reducing women to makeup, wig, long hair, like if you have long hair, and makeup, if you have lipstick, nail polish, makeup, a wig and a skirt, and boobs, that makes you a woman. Even if you have a penis, and even if you have all the genitalia, and even if you don't, even if you cut it off, you still will never ever have the equipment. And then you take hormones, and then you become dependent on the health system that is already unable to deal with life-threatening situations. So, all over the world, the public health systems don't have enough money. Don't have enough money to deal with real issues. Elderly people are being neglected and left to die alone. And all this privileged people that have so much money, because you need to have money to be a trans. Who has money for makeup? Who has money to undergo crazy operations, increasing your breasts, lasers? Who has money for laser treatments? I don't know a lot of women that have money for laser treatments. It's really expensive. All these things they have money for. They have money for everything. They have money to damage and self-sabotage. And then anyone who speaks out against them is being muted. Why can't they deal with people? Why do they have to call them transphobic and fascist? No, they're not. You're the one who are fascist. You're the one who are taking up space of real issues in our society, like abuse of women, children, animals. All these issues are not being addressed because you're there on the screen with your freak show getting thousands of views. Well, I get zero. My abused Bedouin dog gets nothing. Not she hasn't been abused, thankfully, because she was adopted by me at 2 months. But the abused dog is never going to get views. Domestic violence is not talked about as if it doesn't exist, because we're talking about violence against trans people as if it's the most common violence in society, and it's not. There shouldn't be violence against anyone, but come on. Why are you taking up space of women? That's my question. Why can't you just be a feminine male? Why do you have to be an imposter? The point is, if you're not supposed to dress up like Indians, you're not supposed to dress up, there's such a thing as blackface, or let's say if you dress like a Jew, religious Jew, or whatever thing you dress as, or Harry dressing up like a Nazi, you're not supposed to dress up as other people. But then trans people are allowed to dress up as something they are not and never will be. Why can't we just say it? And we're not allowed to say it because we're being shut up. We are not allowed to say the trans people are not real. The trans people are not real. That it's just bullshit. We're not allowed to say that. You know why we're not allowed to say it? Because it's fascism. Fascism doesn't allow free discussion. It mutes people's voices. Why isn't anyone talking about the Iranians being executed? Why isn't anyone talking about the Ukraine-Russian war? Wasn't anyone talking about the Mideast conflict and how oppressed we are here by the stupid UN agenda, siding with the Palestinians in every issue and making us an easy target for every Arab army in the region? Why? Why are we not talking about real issues? Because these imposters, these clowns, dressing up as women, take up the space. Mostly it's men dressing up as women. There are a few women dressing up as men. Whatever they do, it's being an imposter. It's the imposter syndrome. Why is psychology making it normal to do things that we know are not normal? You can do it in the privacy of your own home. Dress up as a woman, stand in front of the mirror with the lipstick. But you know what? It just made me realize, it took me back to my developmental psychology course, that if you look at it, these trans people are usually people that live like a 4-year-old. They have the lifestyle of a 4-year-old. That's what a 4-year-old does. They dress up in mommy's clothing. They try on personas. They're trying on things. And then it's a developmental stage, but they're stuck in it. Or they discover at age 50 or 60, oh, we need to be like a 4-year-old. No, you don't. You have so many years of living on this earth. Use them to do something meaningful. Not to dress up like mommy or daddy, but to do something meaningful for people who are suffering, for animals who are suffering. But no, all the views go to the freak show. So I have no respect for social media, but I know that there are few people out there that are not hypnotized by stupid Harry and Meghan's topics. I mean, how many Harry and Meghan videos are going to be made until people realize they're using the social media to make millions and millions. They have an empire. And the sad part is their children will definitely pay the price, because it can't be normal for parents to put up their private lives out there and lie and isolate them from family and raise them in a very crazy lifestyle. Like they're raised like in the Tower of London as prisoners. They're in California, but they're raised like they're in some sort of a dungeon. They're not allowed to see anyone. They don't have any family except Doria. It's so weird. It's so cringy. It's like a cult. They're raising their kids in a cult, really, with very clear rules. If you speak against us, you're out. We cannot say anything against you. There's no discussions. And then they win this humanitarian prizes. And what's wrong with people who actually make them fighter, like they fighting racism? How are they fighting racism when They don't do anything about it. What do they do? What do they do to encourage the inclusion of of marginalized people in society? Do they ever go to LA, downtown LA, and help the homeless people? Do they ever investigate the causes of homelessness in LA? Because I'd like to know why there are people in America that next to wealthy millionaires' home, people that have served in the army, veterans that are in the street. Where is Harry picking up that part? No, instead he brags about how many people he killed, which is completely absurd. I never heard of anyone doing that, which makes me seriously doubt that ever happened. Another fairy tale, bedtime story for Archie and Lily. And why there's so many videos, like channels making a profit from it? That's what I'd like to know. Why is that taking the place of awareness towards the rights of women, abuse of women, domestic violence, abuse of dogs? Why? That's what I don't get. I really, really don't get it. Why the freak shows take over the social media so easily. That's what I want to know. Why is domestic violence never even mentioned? It's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be spoken about. It affects 1 out of 3 women in the world, according to UN statistics. So why aren't there videos about that? Why are there so many videos about trans rights, but not about domestic violence or abuse of children or dogs or anyone that is not trans? Why is one group taking over? That's what I want to know. Because they're a freak show, because they're very colorful, because they're very pretty, they put on nice clothes, and they live in nice houses, and they do funny things, and people love them. And they're forced, people are forced. There's this one guy, he's from New Zealand, he was a truck driver. He curses like a sailor, well, like a truck driver. And he has this house, and he owns his own home, and he lives with this woman who turned into a man, and she has this funny voice. She sounds like a Disney character. And so he's identifying as a woman, and she's identifying as a man. And they expose intimate details of their marriage, and all about, oh, I'm not a girl. I'm so sad I'm not a girl. You know what I'm sad about? I'm sad about a lot of things. But gender is not something you can decide upon. And because of that, why don't you do something meaningful for someone? I don't see them doing anything. It's all about, do you like me in this skirt? What do you think? And then I got swept into it, and I said, oh, you look so pretty, trying to encourage, because it's all about a pity party. And people are like, oh, you look really nice. But if we really admit it, he looks like a man. He acts like a man. He is a man with breasts. That's it. Men over 50 all have breasts, by the way. You could have spared that operation. Men over 50, almost all of them, if they don't exercise or they have genetics, they have breasts. They look like they have breasts. And women, if you don't need to take hormones, after a certain age, you will have a beard or a mustache or both. So I don't get it. I really don't get the freak shows. They get thousands of views, while important topics in politics, women's rights, animal rights, children's rights just get nothing, 0 views. Is that really what you want to do with your time? Compliment a narcissistic man who dresses up like a woman? Is that what you want to do with your time? I thought about it, and I said, no, I really don't want to pretend he's a woman. We're all sitting there and we're all pretending he's a woman. And I'm sure all the viewers look at his ugly horse face and know he's a man, and not a very good looking man at that. And quite racist, by the way. He's always with his white bread friends from Ireland and England, and really happy about those. Makes me, I don't know what New Zealand is all about. Makes me wonder about New Zealand as a society. Is it just so white? When, what about the Maori people? Why don't we see any videos of them? What happened to them after the white people took over their land and built and built and built on their land and took over? What happened to them, I'm wondering? What happened to their free Maori movement? Nothing happened to them because they don't have political power. The only ones who can scream human rights abuse are those that have political power and money and lack of moral codes. Okay.